Knowledge is power. Information is key. And that is why we aim to unlock the doors of opinion, unveiling the stories that need to be told. Join Omobola Sandra and Sage Babalola on the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. as we invoke the thought-provoking discussion, tackle the tough questions, challenge assumption, and give a voice to the unheard. This is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
Top of the morning to you, Lagos, Nigeria. It is another beautiful day, or at least we hope it would be another beautiful day. You're welcome to Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos, your go-to frequency for news and in-depth analysis as well as overall insight if that's what you require. It is September 17th, 2024. It's about 7:41 a.m. here, and you are tuned into our special morning newspaper review segment called Trends in the Papers, where we sort of dive into today's headlines, discuss the stories that matter the most, and also give you an opportunity to talk to us about how you feel regarding these stories. So stay with us as we explore the latest in local stories, national stories, international stories. We're just going to sift through the pages, basically bring you the highlights and maybe discuss everything in between. So Fᴜʟʟ for this endeavor would be joining us virtually to provide the thoughtful analysis and expert opinion that I promised to you a few minutes ago. So grab your coffee if you're a coffee drinker like myself, and let's start the day with the information that you would need. Like I said, we're about to join Fᴜʟʟ as we begin conversations. My name is Sage Babalola. I'm your anchor for the morning, and this is Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. Don't forget, the program is being streamed live on our social media platforms, Facebook and YouTube. And the beauty of that is you can definitely participate as the show progresses, which means for every single conversation we have on here, you can participate by dropping your comments in the live chat section or segment of our streaming platform on Facebook and on YouTube. Our Facebook and YouTube platforms, the handle at Mainland 98.3 FM. That's how you find us on those platforms. But if you want to be more specific, it's facebook.com/Mainland 98.3 FM. That immediately connects. Well, are you okay?
I'm fine. Perfect.
Okay. Well, you don't need to reiterate the perfect because you're not. But it's okay. Thank you so much for spreading positivity and love. Well,
no choice. You have no choice.
Of course. Well, let's dive into conversations straight away. This is not necessarily the top story on the front page of the Punch. By the way, I'm kicking off conversations with the Punch newspaper. We're working with the Punch, the Guardian, and Conversation. So the president, Fouad, have visited the flood victims in Maiduguri. He's been there. And he has also pledged a disaster relief fund that will be set up. The senators will be working. Basically, the legislative arm will be working with the executive to draw up that particular arrangement. So incidents like this one. So there are more donations coming in for them. There will be a fund that will be set up to take care of them.
Of course, there have been conversations around the need for the yesterday. It was expected. It's been talked about, and I think the president is visiting traditional rulers, also the government. And I think what we now need to start to talk about is how to look ahead of us, look at the future. We're in the era of climate change, play the catch up, look at what is happening, restructure their own strategies and plans when it comes to getting the relief efforts are becoming a bit problematic. I think one of the papers have reported that people who are not really flood victims, they call them fake flood victims, are making relief. You had displaced people now joining flood displaced persons, so it's almost like double jeopardy for the people of Maiduguri. Because again, if they are calling them fake flood victims, how are they able to know they're actually fake flood victims? But no state generally, see with a lot of challenges when it comes to internally displaced people. So I think it's making the relief effort a bit difficult, but again, these are just things that would happen if you have and avoid.
He happened, but because the president wasn't in Nigeria at the time, he couldn't go. But he went there now. They've pledged support for the flood victims, donations, and the president has also asked put out another NIMET. I beg your pardon. NIMET just put out another advisory that would most likely see thunderstorms and rains in certain is a testament to the fact that they wouldn't see any more troubles like this one. The intensity, however, might be less because this was made worse by the dam that burst. So yeah, so
allowed dam. I know there are stories as to how much forecasts and predictions of more rain. I think we need to also take a part of the conversation that talks about the need to carry out integrity tests on all our dams. It's not just the allowed dam in Maiduguri now. I think all of the dams that we have across the nation, while we're also keeping our eyes on what is happening in the Lagdo Dam in Cameroon. That gave us a lot of problems 2 years ago. My mind tells me that we may also run into some trouble now that more rains have to come. If you go out and look at the skies, the rains are going to come definitely. The intensity will be more because again, I think we didn't have as much intensity, and naturally comes with a lot of flooding for low-lying areas, flood-prone areas. And all of that. So, but I think our dams.
Page 20 of the Punch newspaper. We're moving on to the major headline on the front page of the Punch. We have Edo governorship poll. Petrol crisis threatening election as APC PDP set for showdown. We have here the ongoing nationwide fuel crisis has forced the Independent National Electoral Commission to increase its financial commitment to the transport unions that would be involved in Saturday's Edo State governorship election. The adjustment, according to one of Punch correspondents, lends that in response to a need to increase the amounts that would be disbursed for the election. So far, on Saturday, we have the Edo State election coming up. The NNPCL is making it known to... INEC, I'm so sorry. NNPCL has done things to they've done things to me in the last couple of days.
They run so badly that they are in our head.
Oh my God, I am so sorry. I was going to
be negative, not anything positive.
INEC has been allocated for the election because of logistics and moving election material. So that's basically than the fuel crisis when it comes to the Edo State election. Fuad.
Yeah, of course, yes. Miscellaneous. I'm sure INEC would have some extra money, kept aside for unforeseen circumstances like this. So I don't think that's going to be a problem really. Elections. I'm sure they are not going to run into crisis really with having to provide money and to move materials around. So yes, they probably have to raise their budget to people. I'm sure they have enough. If there was a problem with that, they would have probably said one or two things about it. But so far, all they've been saying is that our political gladiators in Edo State should behave themselves. And as you rightly pointed out, the problem is not even the price of fuel. I'm not seeing any serious commitment to peace, to a peaceful election in Edo State. I doubt if for us, yes, there are still accusations and counter-accusations, finger pointing, all manner of conspiracy theories flying around. It's clear that our politicians in Edo State are not committed to a peaceful election. Unfortunately, everybody here is a victim. Everybody here claims to be just one and the same. Everyone wants to read if they have the opportunity to read. Everyone wants to snatch ballot boxes. They want to buy votes. But unfortunately, we have a situation where the electoral process is not structured enough to deal with things like this. My mind tells me that the same old shenanigans that we've seen with our elections will still repeat itself. At the end of the day, the one that can start ballot boxes, the one that can buy the votes, the reform, proper electoral reforms. This is what we're going to be dealing with our elections. Ondo State will come to be the same story. Next year, Anambra will come the same story. So I've always said it. We know the problem. As far as the government of the late Yar'Adua, we've identified what the problems are. And there will be a lot of conversations and recommendations on how to fix our electoral process to ensure the votes of the people count. But nobody is committed to doing it. On the status quo to remain. So if it favors you today, you celebrate the process. If it doesn't favor you tomorrow, you condemn the process. So it's just what it is. I've always said it. If I'm a politician, I will never. But our politicians like it. They'll make all this noise. At the end of the day, elections will be held. You know when you don't have the final say on this Edo election and every other election that is coming.
The court.
The court will have the final say. So why are we dissolving? So it's going to be a long walk from the High Court, from the tribunal in the state to the appeal court, and then the Supreme Court will have a final say. And we'll go and rest. Still done.
Okay. Well, that particular for the petrol crisis is going to cause the INEC to spend a lot more money than budgeted because of logistics and the rising cost of transportation amongst other things.
Broke.
But
I mean, from the information we have,
obviously,
they're not broke.
But
you can spend more.
Like we've said, that might not be the worst of their problem at this time. Even the back and forth, I think
25 billion.
25 for definitely.
Somebody has said that Aswe was the one that promoted a particular Ponzi scheme that defrauded a lot of people.
Right.
You know, there's been a lot of bad blood, really, with the campaign. You know, very terrible statements from people you have thought would show some level of decorum and decency in their public statements and campaigns, but it has not been.
Today, luckily, we're going to have boots on the ground.
I've told you what will play out now. That people will run around. I'm sure by 12, 1 o'clock, one or two of the political parties will start to complain that they are not going to take this.
We'll see how it plays out.
That's it.
ᴑᴇᴜ will be there to give us live reports. So we'll see what really happens on the election day. Page 2, like I said before, if you're just joining the program, you're welcome. This is For the Morning. You can join us on our social media platforms. Sort of doubles as our streaming platform. Use YouTube and Facebook at Mainland 98.3 FM, and you can start dropping your submission as we look through the stories as reported on the front pages of our dailies. And back to other stories. Fouad, 950 naira to a litre Dangote petrol may justify more importation, and this is according to marketers. The rider, dealers PMS vessel arrives at Ipman. Petrolab demand transparency in pricing. So we have the story here. The price of premium motor spirits, popularly called petrol, produced by the Dangote Petroleum Refinery and released by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited on Monday, may justify the importation of the commodity into Nigeria. Oil marketers have pricing of PMS produced by the Dangote Refinery. The organized private sector has faulted the role of NNPC as the sole off-taker of petrol from Dangote Refinery, and they have called for competition in this space, adding that NNPC's role as sole off-taker would not encourage said competition. Fouad, with the pricing template that was released by the NNPC and Dangote, or Dangote's spokesperson DVK, talking about the fact that that template is misleading, although they did not go any further to tell us what the accurate template is, but they have debunked the pricing template PMS, a far cry from the expectations we all had when Dangote Refinery was coming on board. And now marketers are telling us that if this trend continues, they might as well just revert to importing the product. And as it is right now, they're expecting their products today, because the competition that we thought was going to help to minimize the price of the commodity is nowhere to be found, because NNPCL have decided to make themselves lord over the oil
that they can now start to import is coming from. They've never been able to import really. They've been relying on the NNPCL, who has always leveraged on the fact that they sell crude and they have enough dollars to bring in the product to buy. So it's always been a monopoly in terms of importation. Yes, liberalized downstream sector, licenses issued for importation, but of course the dollar factor has always made it very difficult for any other person to go out there in Nigeria. There was going to be an opportunity for them to just, take their trucks down, negotiate with Dangote Refinery, and then of course buy whatever product they want to buy. So it was supposed to be, an opportunity for them to also be an active player in the downstream sector, have access to the product. It says it's refined here in Nigeria. But again, we've seen a situation where the entire process has been twisted. The same NNPCL that has been the sole importer of the product, that run their own entire processes into huge debt of about $6.8 billion, suddenly also hijacking the entire process to becoming the off-taker, the sole off-taker of the product from the Dangote Refinery. Again, nobody understands why we have this structure of the Dangote group of companies, or the Dangote Refinery and its officials, look like people who have guns on their head. When they talk, you see that the price given out by the NNPCL as how much you sold to them. The NNPCL say you sold at very transparent, and there's nothing somewhere, or maybe you signed a non-disclosure agreement. All the Dangote Refinery to sell us, even if it's in dollars, this is how much I sold to them. But as we speak, Dangote has not told Nigerians how much he sold this September product. to NNPCL. It's only been NNPCL giving us its own figures that Dangote refinery has now disputed. So if you look at every of the situation, what we have here, the reality is that there's no transparency. There are people who they've enjoyed it, they want to continue to enjoy it. They like us from these cabals, from these agents of corruption in the oil sector. That's the president. For every other person doing no manner of things, we never voted for Nigerians. I always repeat this particular statement. He promised to bring it down, drop the prices, make it affordable for Nigerians. Not just affordable, also available for Nigerians. And Nigerians are waiting on him to fulfill that promise. They are waiting. They know that he has to fulfill the promise. He said it himself. Without mincing words, that look, go and relax your mind. Put your mind at rest. I'm going to bring down the prices. And Nigerians are waiting. They are just waiting for it to happen. And it will happen, hopefully. Let's hope that the president would understand that every other thing that we're talking about as hardship and suffering in the land is tied to the price of PMS. And he's going to do something.
The inability to get accurate information, debunking information that has been put out without telling us what is supposed to be the accurate thing. It's difficult to piece all of this together, but affects small business owners because in certain regions they will be paying over 8,000 naira for the commodity. Even in Lagos, and we see a reduction, something I doubt very
without
much.
Without price template from NNPCL, every independent marketer will sell at over 8,000 naira.
Of course.
You have to pay NNPCL will now pay Dangote. But the funny thing in the arrangement is that, look, as an independent marketer, even when you pay NNPCL, you still have to take your truck. And then he removes his own and pay. Dangote also talked about IOCs who use their retail agents abroad to sell crude to them in Nigeria.
Yes.
So when you see it's deliberate, you create this round trip around, the entire value chain, the bottleneck. This middleman structure that people do, to cheat people. Say, Dangote produced diesel. There was no story. Dangote was so happy to tell us, I produced diesel, this is how much I'm selling it. When Jet A1 came, there was no story. But they know that PMS is the ultimate, and Babala of them all. Suddenly the 괶괇ɪ has started. MNPCL is the 𝐴𝑤, they are just everywhere. Shamefully so, this is a company that has 4 refineries that have not been able to fix after putting billions of dollars into turnaround maintenance. Then now they want an office in somebody's facility. They want to even put staff there. They should go buy the refinery from the man. Maybe I told them they wanted to sell. They were interested.
Even if he's going to sell, I don't think he will sell to us. We don't have any antecedent that encourage such arrangement. If our refinery has to sell,
Dangote, I'm sure when Dangote made the statement of take charge of this one and also run it as well. So that you continue to import. That's what you want.
Well, the marketers are already saying importation will not stop with this particular trend because they had hopes that Dangote refinery was going to bring about a reduction in the need to import. But they're telling us that even if they're able to get Dangote's commodity, it will not be enough to satisfy even domestic consumption. So they still will need to import. So, like I said at the beginning, that shrouds this particular arrangement. Well, if you want more details,
Dangote was actually going to do about 25 million liters.
Yeah.
Doing about 44 million liters on the average to be able to take care of our daily consumption, and we're not doing that yet. So if you aggregate and look at all that situation, you know that there's still the need for us to continue to import to meet that shortfall. One had hoped that by now Port Harcourt refinery would have been working. You understand? If Port Harcourt refinery was working the way they had promised us, then this problem of importation would have reduced drastically. But again, we'll continue to see how it goes. We'll continue to hope that the right thing will be done. But for now, it's what it is to still have to continue to import until when we are able to sort ourselves out.
Right.
You understand?
Of course. Page 2, that's where you find the story. Moving forward, we have the headline, Flood sacks 404 million from Nigerian schools, others, according to the World Bank. Of 2024, according to a report by the World Bank. The report highlights that climate change, including flood, is causing significant school closures and notes that these disruptions remain largely invincible because they are not being tracked by relevant authorities. In Nigeria specifically, we have 1.3 million that are affected, and I think for this year, schools have had to close about 53 times, which means that the entire curricula has been disrupted. And so, the World Bank is trying to have proximity. We should focus on ourselves. Is affecting the amount of time students can go to school because of the dilapidating structures, the physical infrastructure in our education sector. Schools might collapse. Students cannot even find their way to the school premises because of the flooding and what have you, the erosion and what have you. This is a problem that one. The consequences might not be this grave, but for an education system that has no physical infrastructure, the classes are nothing to write home about, leaking roofs, the road to those schools are also, I mean, it rained in one state and the road, I can't remember the state for it. It rained and the road, I've never, it was a Moses scenario. It just split into two.
The road completely.
So, and no parents will let their children or their wards go out in that kind of condition. So, commenting this of what?
Well, it's just what it is. Like I said earlier, nature would always take its toll. We are in this period of serious concern on climate change, flooding, heat waves, and all manner of things. Here in Africa, I think we're basically dealing with issue, but again, we have this challenge with not being very proactive. So, with government commitment to things like this is also the reason why we have to go through some of these issues. Look at people that have been displaced to try to get an emergency relief without really fixing the problem. All over the world, people are getting very proactive to deal with the challenge of corruption. Now we're going to convince our leaders to stop stealing people's money than really fixing problems like this. Our leaders are still more committed to stealing people's resources than fixing problems that affect people's lives.
Applicants. Now, as part of measures to prevent extortion and enhance service delivery, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board says it has concluded said this has become important given the many candidates who take the UTME are underage. We know that a lot of these UTME candidates are underage, and I don't know if you remember a few months ago there was a mother who took conversation. So you go there to register your ward for JAM. Obviously, you have to put a phone number there. Yes, and then this particular individual took the number of the 15-year-old and engaged her inappropriately, and so because of incidents like this,
I think most parents now put their own phone numbers.
They do that now. They put their own phone numbers. Well, because of incidents like this one and extortion at the CBT center, special center, that's what it's called. That because of cases like this, to minimize human interaction, to do at this time.
Well, it's good. Anything that will bring sanity to the process should be welcome. It's just what it is, really. Anything that would encourage some level of sanity, to protect these young ones, it's a welcome development. And I think the leadership of JAM, and I think one of the things they need to do is to ensure that the validity period of the exam goes beyond 1 year. That's also one conversation I think JAM should pick up. But for protecting these, young ones against any attempt by anybody to want to take advantage of them, I think it's a welcome development. Technology can help to do that, I agree. And so it's a good one. It's a good one that at least JAM is paying attention to something as basic as trying to protect, these young ones from anybody that wants to take advantage of them. But one, again, the validity period should go beyond 1 year. I suggest 3 to 4 years.
Well, this is on page 18 of the Punch newspaper. We also have here, as regards the SIM-NIN linkage, 65 million GSM lines risk disconnection. About 65 million phone lines are at risk of disconnection after telecom operators refuse to grant subscribers an extension to the National Identifications Commission. The telecom regulator expects that no SIM card would remain active without a verified numbers barred permanently, although the NCC is trying to have conversations with the NIMC to access the portal, and because the error is from them, the NCC is saying grant people the grace to still link their SIM to their NIN because you had a problem, and that's why most people were not able to do about it.
Well, extension or not, people will still not do the NIN. So we need to extend the opportunity to register their SIMs. Linking to the NIN because there was a glitch in the website for some time that prevented people from being able to do that. Okay, I think that's justifiable. But I think that look, people are just going to do what they want to do, really, and will not do what they are supposed to do. No matter how much you extend, you keep extending, the time. There has to be a time you put your foot on the ground and say no. That's it. So what you can now do is to go your telecom operator. The process should be seamless. Let people come in, do what they need to do in a more seamless way. But something there has to be a termination. There has to be a deadline that we have to stay with. Because if you keep extending, people will still continue to go for extension.
Well, please link your SIM to your NIN. Is for security reasons. At least that's what they tell us. So they can trace or.
You want to start the security conversation?
Well, but that's the reason. When Issa Pantami brought up this whole conversation, that's what he said, right? Is to aid.
The same Issa Pantami is telling you that security operators are
not using it. Yeah, but so let's do our own part.
So security operators. Let's do our own part. That's it. Let's do our own part.
It's on Jack's new LP faction. More crisis for the Labour Party. To be honest, God is going to help them. I don't know what is going on. This fight for who runs the party is starting to really take away from the essence of the Labour Party.
There's a particular Okafor now. Yeah, there's a particular Okafor now who said he got a court judgment in 2018 that was not by the party. So he's also laying claim to the leadership of the party. Julius Abure is on one side. But right now, Tʀᴇɪᴅs Usman is also on one side. But INEC is making some very interesting statements on the leadership of Julius Abure. They're saying they don't recognize him, that his tenure expired
in June.
In June.
Yeah.
And that the other Congress that re-elected him was invalid. That's what they're telling the court. Julius Abure is in court, which was supposed to be part of the law and rules. But I say Julius Abure is not going to back down. There's also another Okafor in the mix. Peter Obi, Governor Oti, other stakeholders are hoping to save the party, rescue the party. But in all of this, my mind tells me that, look, there are external forces helping to further tear down that party. Because these other thoughts, but like they always say, if there are no cracks in the wall, the lizard cannot go in.
Yeah.
So they've opened themselves up to this crisis. And I think there's an external force somewhere helping them to further make a mess of that party. And I think they are not even seeing the bigger picture. There's no selflessness. There's no commitment, to the soul of the party. These are just individuals who are only thinking about themselves. Very unfortunate for opposition politics in Nigeria.
Page 41 of the Punch, you find the story. We also have here, finally, Ogun landlord defiles tenant's 14-year-old in the papers. We really need to do something about punishment for those who abuse children.
Unless we want to go capital. Because
we should go capital for that. We should. I don't know. You could be eligible for parole with good behavior in 5 years.
You know what, Sage? Again, in different research and analysis of the patterns of behavior that relates to things like this, the stiffer the punishment, no matter how stiff the punishment is, it's not going to stop people from still committing crime.
Right.
And so I think what I am working for is for parents to be more alive to their responsibility. Because look, even if you kill people, people will still commit the crime. The percentage of people were smoking. I know at that time when we were young, the message then was, this thing you are taking will kill you. It's dangerous to your health. People didn't stop smoking. So they felt that, look, the message was not strong enough. They now changed it to what? Smokers are liable to die young. And a survey was conducted, and it was discovered that more people started smoking, even when the message got scarier about the dangers of smoking. When it moved from smoking is dangerous to health to smokers are liable to die young, we discovered that more people started smoking. And that's why you see that today, because the message has not solved, has not deterred people from smoking, there's no even advert of cigarettes again. But even without any advert, are people not still smoking? People are still smoking. So I think that the punishment here should be stiffer, but I also think that apart from the punishment are young girls, really. When they begin to suspect that there are these things, these moves are becoming dangerous from these deranged minds who want to take advantage of young people, what they need to do. But also parents, the era of hoping that elders are responsible and you leave your kids with them, or everybody's so busy working and you think our parents have to do more, our schools have to do more, and we have to educate our young girls more about the dangers that comes with some of these
trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM. I'm Sage Babalola. Fᴜဃᴜ is with us virtually, and we're looking through our dailies. We just went through the Punch newspaper, and we're about to move now to the Guardian newspaper. Thank you to everyone on our live stream. Please do well to drop your submission as the conversation progresses. Well, top story on the front page of The Guardian here says, concerns as fuel price hike, weak naira dampen inflation outlook. The riders to the story, bag of rice hits 95,000 naira, beans 230,000 naira. 40,000 naira rice initiative yet to take off in most states as Abuja residents groan. MBS list high cost of food as one of the main drivers of inflation. Now, though the inflation rate slowed to 32.15% in August, stakeholders believe it is not yet over, going by the new triggers like the recent hike in fuel price, depreciation of the naira, and the flood in many food-producing states. Similarly, households continue to complain about dwindling incomes based on the amount that is spent on food, education. It was 33.40%, I believe, as at August, but now we have 32.1%, a 1.25% reduction or thereabout. But the report is telling us, even as we see these headline inflation and food inflation figure reducing, is not reflect. Housing is now higher. Inflation figures might be low, but the quality of life of Nigerians is also low.
The methodology of the NBA.
Right.
There are questions as to their methodology and what they're looking at really to come up with these figures. But I really won't bother myself because enough has been said as to the fact that I think the easiest methodology to know whether inflation has become worse or is getting better is to look at the reality of Nigeria, look at what they're saying. You can go to our market, go and ask people about the cost of things, the price of commodities. Yes, headline inflation, economics and indices of looking at the inflationary reality of Nigerians at this time. Stage the product by product analysis, I think, was also done by the Vanguard newspaper. I think Guardian also did something like that. A bag of rice has moved from about 80,000 to 95,000 naira.
Yes.
And same for other products. Plantain, I think, has also gotten better in terms of pricing because we're in the season. I think tomatoes and pepper has also gotten better. It has to be an holistic approach. And that's things have gotten more expensive. The purchasing power of average Nigerians have been further eroded by the rising cost of fuel and other things. And that's just the reality of it.
Well, I really think you should check that report on the front page of The Guardian. You should read it so you could understand the reality of the average Nigerian. Although the figures look good, but then that's all I have to say.
Good, but the reality is bad.
Yeah.
So which one should you work with now?
I have
the figures or the reality of the people?
I do have a problem with the MBS though, and I'm going to one day talk about it. I have a problem with the MBS because there was one time they were also doing this for the unemployment rate figures. At a point,
and
if you do that, so the MBS themselves, I don't know. I'll talk about.
They're just laughing around. They're just joking around. Nobody takes that serious. We know what we know, and nobody's going to be deceived by all of these unnecessary permutations and waste of time when it comes to calculations. How do you move from 32% because there's one ILO standard and blah blah blah,
to
and then
4%.
Now begin to tell Nigerians that it's just 4%? What are you saying? What are we saying? Yeah, are we joking?
Well, this report,
even the 40% that we had before, people are still doubting it. You now said there's one calculation somewhere too. Is it to
is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. I'll just read the rest of the headlines that we have on the front pages. Fake Maiduguri flood victims mar relief operations at IDP camps. We spoke about this. The governor already said that those who are not victims of the flood have decided to settle down in the IDP camps.
They are victims
well, they are victims of other things as well. Victims of they're all victims.
That's why I say everybody is vulnerable. The governor.
It's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. We have Mpox, no plan to impose travel restrictions on Africans, says US. So there was this rumor that was going around that because of Mpox outbreak in Africa, that the United States is preventing people from coming into the country, and they've debunked it. The US have said they have no intention whatsoever to prevent Africans from coming into the country. The only thing is that they are going to work with medical agencies that would just test people, the regular thing, protocol basically, but they're not barring Nigerians or Africans from coming into the United States because of mpox. It's on page 3. Also here, Abure's tenure as Labour Party boss expired in June 2024. INEC insists. We also have here, review inevitable, says Lagos State, as parents kick against 300% hike in model colleges boarding fee. So yeah, Fuad, the model colleges in Lagos, they've increased the fee for boarding schools from 30% increases.
And the MBS is telling you that inflation figures are
well,
what has led to the increase? These are a joke. The parents are protesting, really.
Yes.
I think there's a school ever Adelaide or something. I've seen parents carrying placards. They are still threatening that, look, there has to be a reversal. 300% was too much there at this time. You know, there are other costs. This is just for boarding fee.
Yes.
But again, this is what Nigerians are saying. This is exactly what Nigerians are saying, that, look, this is a government that promised them, prosperity, that promised them better living. It's Wale. Only as Wale say everything is
maybe our peace of mind.
Okay, our peace of mind as Wale. And do you think we have any peace of mind as Wale? But my own blood pressure is already rising. See, now when I drink,
This is on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. We have here, Nati wants funds monitored, tracked as FAC shares 3.4 trillion naira in second quarter of 2024. So they basically want more accountability in how we're spending the monies that are distributed from FAC.
Who will monitor it? How do you monitor it? Yeah, tell me how we're going to monitor it.
I don't know.
FAC,
I have no idea.
Go and check the governor's account. Look.
In the papers, I'm Sage Babalola. We're due for a commercial. We'll be back at 8:40 for more conversations. Only that you would be the one to navigate or control the conversation when we come back. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. It's